Welcome to the HBCU podcast. You're listening to episode 36. If you're an avid listener or just joining us for the first time, here we're joined by some awesome HBCU grads in the form of co-host and guest. We also focus on all the great things HBCU alumni are doing all over the world. On this episode, we speak with Jameer Pond. He's a graduate of Lincoln University. Jameer is a successful media personality and content creator. His lively personality can be seen and heard on shows like The Grapevine, Shall Over Chug, Boy Joy and AOL's Build Brunch. During this episode, we discuss his HBCU experience, his former life as a comedian, and he drops some major career gems for those interested in the digital media industry. Keep listening. It's the HBCU podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Jameer Pond and I am a graduate of Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, class of 2010.
Yes.
Here we go. That's right, talented Tim. I love it.
I love it too. Great energy, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. I think before we started recording, I just told you we hadn't had anyone on the podcast from Lincoln. But before
you did.
Before we get into it all, because you know what we got to do, we got to clear it up, right?
Let's go.
Lincoln, you're the first HBCU, right? But do you all call yourselves Lincoln of PA to distinguish from the Lincoln of Missouri, or how does that go?
We are the Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, also known as Lincoln University, the first HBCU. For sure.
Rep.
That's what happens, you know. Shout out to Cheney, though. Cheney was founded in 1837. We were founded in 1854. But I like to say, we was handing out degrees in 54. They was handing out handshakes. So we can't really, you know what I'm saying? It's not like, I understand you were there before.
Right.
But understand, we the first HBCU. Okay? That's all I can say. Shout out to Cheney, though.
Shout out to Cheney. And that's a debate I often hear in the community, but cool. So let's get a little bit of information on you, Jameer. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I am from Brooklyn, New York, born and bred. The Fort Greene section of Brooklyn is where I grew up.
Okay.
Lived all around Brooklyn and kind of soaked up that Brooklyn atmosphere. It's one of the biggest parts of my DNA. I feel like, resiliency, a little bit of edge, but a lot of creative energy and love.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Brooklyn.
Shout out to Brooklyn for sure. And it's funny because as soon as you said that, I heard the accent.
Did you hear Brooklyn a little bit?
I heard it. It popped.
I gotta turn it on every now and again. People like, oh, I don't hear your accent. Every now and again, just gotta show people where I'm from. You know what I mean?
You gotta give it to them. So how did you end up at Lincoln University?
Man, so I was going to high school and I wasn't very good. Wasn't a very good high schooler. And, I knew I was smart. It's just at that time in high school, when I was applying for colleges and everything, it was kind of a second thought to me just because I was a stand-up comedian all throughout high school, my sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
So I was very, 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 very locked in on just being the best stand-up I could be.
Mm-hmm.
And, right before I went to school, actually, I got an offer. I don't know if y'all remember, but there was a tour called the Teens of Comedy, and it was with Brandon T. Jackson and Lil JJ.
Yep.
And so they were on tour, and this guy saw me at a comedy club, and he was just I manage somebody from the tour, and we would love to have you on. Mind you, right before, this was summer, right before I was supposed to go to school, I was just nah, I can't really. I was I think about it, and I chose Lincoln, but because I felt like I owed it to Lincoln. Lincoln was one of the only schools that like looked out for me and was just like, all right, because of your piss poor grades and SAT scores, we're gonna let you in. It's all right. We're gonna work with you. We're gonna work with you. So I kind of felt like um I was playing it safe, but I also had a loyalty
Yeah.
of Lincoln, and I chose that, and it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
That's nice. You know, what
Yeah.
I love about what you just said, we've had a few other people on the podcast as well who had similar stories to you, you know, not being, I
Hmm.
guess, the best high schooler, as you put it.
Oh no.
But that's one of the beautiful things about HBCUs. Even though, you know, of course, we're still top tier when it comes to granting degrees, all of that, we are not afraid to bet on students who don't
Right.
have stellar academic backgrounds. So
Right.
that's what I
My
really, really
I'm
love.
in my like going into school, it was a lot of people like me. You know, they Lincoln and like you said, other HBCUs, they tend to take more time and try to mold,
Mm-hmm.
you know, their students, especially incoming freshmen. I think we had in '06 the largest amount of incoming freshmen that the school
Wow.
had seen at that time.
Uh-huh.
There wasn't even a lot of people, but Lincoln was just taking a chance on a lot of kids from Philly,
Yeah.
New York, DC, New Jersey, the DMV, and you know, for some of us it paid off, and you know, for others, I'm sure they got a wonderful experience out of it, even though they left or moved on.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
going into it, were you familiar with it being an HBCU and the whole HBCU, I guess, community?
Okay, so from being from New York, the my extension of HBCUs was School Days. I watched School Days like a bunch of time before I went to Lincoln. I said, okay, this is gonna be a ground foundational thing.
Right.
I said, I'm gonna become a gamma. I'm gonna have a gamma ray as a girlfriend. It's gonna be lit. Like these are my like perceptions,
Realistic
like
expectations, of course.
realistic expectations. Of find me somebody like Jane who's loyal. And I went there and it was a complete culture shock. I was the only person from my school to go to Lincoln from my high school.
Mm-hmm.
There was another girl that was supposed to go, and she went to like some school in upstate New York. So I was like the only one. I was the only person that it was just me. It was me depending on me, and what blew my mind was that it was so many people from New York, so I immediately like felt comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and just because we knew the same blocks, and some of us knew the same people, so I'm like, okay, this feels like home. But it was a complete culture shock because at that time, and I love Lincoln, and as part of the story, Lincoln was a little hood,
Yeah.
and I mean, when I say a little hood, I mean a lot of hood. And
Got
I
it.
was like, I could have stayed in Brooklyn for
this.
all of this. Yeah, I mean, people, getting into fights. It was a big Philly versus New York thing. I'm like, why? They going up to people, hey, you from New York? Yeah, punching them in their mouth. I was like, oh, this is not for me. So it was definitely a culture shock to the point where I was just like, I don't know if I'm coming back.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Lincoln again. When Lincoln works with you, you got to work with Lincoln and kind of
Okay.
make
I
it
like
the best.
that.
It was like it was in the middle of nowhere. You had to get a car to go to the supermarket. There was nothing around. So it was just kind of like you drop in a whole bunch of city kids in the middle of Amish country, Pennsylvania, and it's like there should be a film crew around filming your experiences. So it was definitely a culture shock for me.
Got it. So the school is not actually in the city. It's like close by,
No,
though.
it's I would say 45 minutes from Philadelphia. Depending on how fast you drive, you might be able to get to Philly in 30
Mm-hmm.
minutes. But yeah, it's like right outside of Philadelphia. And I have friends like that went to Temple and Villanova, who were in Philadelphia. And I'm like, well, we got horse and buggies. I mean, y'all got cheesesteaks. We got horse and buggies. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Well, what you explained or about where Lincoln is, I mean, it's very similar to most HBCUs. It's
Yeah.
really only the Atlanta ones that really have the the great city like right around them. Everybody else's is pretty much the same. We're like 45 minutes
Okay.
away from everything, except for
That
maybe
makes me
like
feel better.
Allen and Benedict. They're like in Columbia, South Carolina, which is the capital in the city. But
Right.
I mean, no other ones really come to mind that are actually just planted in a city atmosphere. So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
I always thought it was just us. I was like, this is gonna build character, guys. I'm
Right.
just letting you know.
It
Yeah,
does. And you get to
it
spend a
does.
lot more time with your classmates and get to know
Oh yeah.
people because you're not getting out that much unless you have a car.
Unless you have a car. Absolutely, absolutely.
Cool. So, for you and going to Lincoln, it sounds like, but I don't want to speak for you. Did you have
hmm
any other individuals in your family that may have attended HBCUs or just encouraged you, to take the HBCU journey?
I had a few family members that went to HBCUs. Actually, my cousin Wes um, was the first one. He went to Lincoln,
Okay.
and his father went to Lincoln. So he actually gave me my first tour around Lincoln, and
Hmm.
I said, I don't ever want to be here in life. They are shooting craps right now in the quad. Okay, this is different. So I had, people in my family. Have also had a cousin who went to Spelman. We call her the bougie black, but I love her to death. She went to Spelman, and my family is just filled with educators. So I was never a first generation college student.
Hmm.
And I knew a lot about college, and I knew that I was going to college from a young age. And so that was always just kind of ingrained in myself. And the younger generation that was kind of coming up, like, you know about colleges. But HBCUs, again, it was kind of a culture shock. But I made sure that when I watched School Days, it was like a thorough piece of groundwork of what I was going to get myself into.
Okay.
Some of it applied. Also, Different World. A
Yeah.
Different World was a major staple in my life because I already knew going in that HBCUs were filled with rich history
Hmm.
of our people. And when I left, I felt like I helped put a building block up for myself. And it was a special moment for me graduating.
Nice. Now, still talking a little bit about you and your journey at Lincoln.
hmm
What was your major and how did you come about choosing that major, especially, coming from your stand-up comedian background and,
Yeah.
not being, like you said, the most studious high schooler?
Yeah, I think that's a great question just because like I went into Lincoln, I didn't even look at majors. I was like, I want to act and I need to be acting now. And they said, well, we don't have an acting department. And I said, well, hmm. And I was kind of undeclared for a little bit, and I chose business. And I was dedicated to the business department for about a week, and then I said, you know what? Nope. And actually, my major found me, which is mass communication with a concentration in radio and broadcast.
Hmm.
And I said, this is the closest thing that's going to allow me to use my talents and my gifts that God has given me to kind of be in a place where I can talk to people, make people think, make people laugh, make people love. And the communication department was very interesting because it was still growing. It
Hmm.
was still growing when I got in, and we were using cameras from the 1980s. I'm talking about the big shoulder joints. You know, we were using like Kodak film
Oh boy.
joints. Like they were, because it's a testament because some HBCUs outside of maybe the ones who are universally known,
Like
you know,
FAMU, their
like
broadcast is
fam.
so lit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. There's funding behind it. People got it like as a resource right away. But for smaller schools like Lincoln, who are now caught up, but back in '08, we kind of had to figure things out on ourselves,
Hmm.
for ourselves. So I felt like radio and TV would help prepare me and help propel me to uh, do a lot of things and a lot of great things in the future, and was the best decision for my future. And that's what I chose.
Nice. Now, of course, I did a little research before
Okay.
this,
Oh
checking out your
Lord.
work in media.
You didn't find nothing crazy from Lincoln, did you? Don't say you did.
No, I didn't find anything.
Okay, I buried that.
I didn't go back that far.
I
Um,
buried it. It's
you,
gone.
okay. We'll see. I'll check it out. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit more about young Jameer,
Oh,
because tell me about who you were as a child and really how it plays into your current career, because you seem like a kid that was always talking, and then you also said that you
yeah.
know were a stand-up comedian, and then now of course you're in this media space with so much personality, and you're a media personality. But like, what were you like? What are those little things you can look back on now and be like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be?
Yeah. I praise God, or if people don't believe, or the universe, or whatever you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prayerful and thankful of the talents that I received from a young age, and I'm blessed to say that I never really like switched up. I mean, if you meet my friends from different parts of my life,
Mm-hmm.
they'll tell you that I was always talkative. I was always trying to make people laugh unconscious, like just like unbeknownst to me, not on
Yeah.
purpose, but just sharing my joy. I grew up an only child.
Uh-huh.
So my imagination spanned way further than just like normal people. Because normal people had siblings. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know how you would have an imaginary friend? Like you maybe got one, or
Right.
you have one. I had an imaginary neighborhood. Like I had people. Shout out to my imaginary friend Daryl.
Yes, Daryl. Hey,
That was
Daryl.
my homie. Hey, what up, Daryl? Hey, what up? See, he said what up. But like I had created like backstories for these people. Like it just shows you like the theater of the mind. I
Mm-hmm.
knew from then that I was meant to like be telling stories, or doing some kind of creative thing.
Yeah.
And just from such a young age, and of course being too talkative in class, that's all would be on my report card. Jameer's smart, but he's too talkative. He would have got a higher grade, but he was too talkative. And so I remember third grade, my art teacher, Miss Granatelli, she was like, "You are disrupting the class, but I understand it's creative energy. If you could be quiet until, such and such time, I'll give you 5 minutes to come up here and tell jokes." And like, I feel like that's how every black comedian starts off, just kind of being too talkative in class. And, I did it.
Yeah.
And it was an infectious feeling. I've never felt anything like that. And so from that moment in third grade, that feeling stuck with me. And it's one of the greatest feelings ever to put your creativity out there and to get a reception of joy back.
Yeah.
That's always stuck with me. So even from young little Jameer, he didn't have no two front teeth because I got him taken out when I was very young. And the lisp that you hear from
I was
this
about to say, pause
podcast.
for a second. You don't just get to say you had your teeth taken. What had happened?
Okay, so what happened was, like, when I was 2 and my teeth were coming in, you get the baby teeth. Baby teeth came in. I used to get these real bad ear infections, and they killed the nerves in my two front teeth specifically,
Uh-huh.
and they had to get taken out. Now, with baby teeth, you don't realize that even though they come out, they're supposed to come out when they're supposed to.
Right.
I had just gotten these. They're like Jordans. You just get Jordans, they get taken away from you. It's like, what happened? What happened? So throughout my formative years until my adult teeth came in, I spent 5 years in it, like just speaking with my tongue, like because I had nothing to catch it. There was no teeth to catch it.
Oh,
There were
wow.
no teeth to catch my tongue. So from 2 to the age of 7, I didn't have front teeth, and so even that's a testament of just my childhood. I don't ever want to get rid of my lisp, because it further makes me unique from
Right.
anybody else that's kind of doing this. And the fact that I'm able to, like, I've grown comfortable with a speech impediment, like, it's a testament. It's an ode to My younger self, who,
Yeah.
is still in my heart, and kind of generating this creative energy just in a more mature way.
Hashtag cool story.
Hey,
I like
I
it.
got you. I
Well,
got
you
you.
know what else I really loved about what you just shared is like shout out to the educators who are really doing it right, who like,
Yeah,
recognize that what type of energy you were giving out and didn't,
yeah,
decide to just be like, oh, we need to discipline him because he's not
yeah,
being like everybody else. So
mm,
that's really awesome. And then now,
yeah,
as a mass comm major, still looking at all your information within the research. You've worked in radio. You've worked with Hot
yeah.
97. You've worked with Def
Mhm,
Jam. You worked with
mhm,
BET. So being a
mhm.
mass comm major, being at Lincoln University and HBCU, just how exactly did those opportunities come about for you?
Look, I wish I could absolutely say it was from 4 years of dedicated work,
Yeah.
and I stayed the course. I worked, I went to the school career center, and I applied for these jobs with a career coach, and there were internships, and I worked my way up, and here I am. That is absolutely unrealistic, and just at least for me, my whole career thus far has been on the backs of dedicated people who believed in me.
Hmm.
I often say, it's really God's work. I'm just the vehicle of God's continuous ordering of my steps. Hallelujah. Sorry, I had
Yes.
to do a praise
No,
break
you
for
got
that.
to give it up.
Sometimes you just got to give it up.
You got to.
But like it really came from just people looking out.
Yeah.
Like for real. Like with Def Jam, it was an internship that I had for 2 weeks. They had so many interns at the time, but a friend of mine from high school was able to get me there. And at least for 2 weeks, I was able to say that I worked at Def Jam.
Right.
For BET came off the heels of this. Who I worked for a promotions company for a minor league baseball team in New Jersey.
Hmm.
So it was like a bad company inside of a bad company, and they weren't paying me on time. Even a little bit of money that they were paying me, they weren't paying me on time. So like I quit, and I saw like an ad on Facebook. It was very non-specific, but it was for people interested in African American culture, music, and hip hop specifically. I said, perfect. What I got to lose, and it happened to be BT, and the project was being an intern to help cast for 106 in Park, which was like an incredible feat in my career. I'm like, okay, I know I want to be on camera,
Hmm.
and this was like the best tutelage that I could get. So I got to sit in and watch some of the most talented people from all over the country come audition for 106 in Park. They were getting ready to recast because Terrence and Roxy were leaving.
Uh-huh.
And it's so funny because like when I was, listening to the podcast, I saw Jay Dukes, and I vividly remember Jay Dukes sending in his tape. I remember
Ah.
Jay Dukes coming to 106 in Park, like so I
Yeah,
remember
we had a whole campaign to try to get him to be like the
I
next
remember
host.
that. I remember that it was being like sent to like they did a lot of internal, but they also did a lot of campaign stuff. Like they'll see somebody on TV, or like somebody send it in, they'll put them on TV based on the reaction, they bring them in.
Hmm.
So it was it taught me a lot, and I thought right then and there I could do it. Like I could be a host. I was like, oh, I could do this. I could do this, but I played my part and kind of was like, this is good for you to see, because I saw things that people wanted, and I saw that things that people didn't want,
Hmm.
and I always thought that was like I always thought that as an extension of school, that was probably the best learning that I got in terms of being a personality, to watch constantly personalities be in and out, pinpoint things that people wanted, people didn't want.
So
And so
you
it
were
was,
there when they were test kind of like it was guest host. that whole
Yes.
time. Like for a
Guest
week, it would
host.
be
Yeah.
this person, and then it would be somebody
Exactly.
else. Okay,
Yep. I had a hand in picking, some of the people who happened to make it on the show,
nice.
and ultimately some like the new hosts that succeeded Terrence and Roxy. So it was very interesting. It was dope. I really enjoyed it. But like that internship turned into a job. After a month. After a month.
Hallelujah. See, that's the way internships are
Hallelujah.
supposed to go. Hire me.
Right. Hire me. That's what I'm saying. They saw some dedication. They were like, okay, we're gonna pay you. And it was a great 5 months. And then after they picked their host, they said, all right, bye. And I said, wow, okay.
Life, like life.
Like life, life happens. So that was October of 2012. And from October on, I had told myself, I was like, all right, look, I want to work in radio. New York is the hub of radio.
Hmm.
It is the number one market in the world. And this is where I need to be. I want to work in radio. And for 2 months, like I'm just vigorously filling out applications and kind of just pushing it out there that I want to work in radio. And for 2 months, I didn't hear anything. I heard something back from the Judge Mathis show, which needed producers in Chicago. And I was like, well, I'm not getting anything. Chicago, never had deep dish pizza. Want to try it. I decided to I decided to apply. They sent me back something, said that they'll be excited to have me. Did like the first interview, the second interview on Skype. And I was about to have my final interview where they would give me my money and a flight out to meet the senior producer.
Hmm.
I got a random call one day, and it might be a job when you see 00 at the end of the number. So I had to put on my code switch for hello.
Yes, context
Hi.
clues.
Yes, context clues. And it happened to be somebody from WBLS, which is a staple radio station out here in New York. And they were like, well, we want you to interview with us for a part-time videographer job. And I remember hanging up the phone and I said, I'm not going to Chicago. I had not even had an interview yet. And I said, I'm not going to Chicago.
Hmm.
I said, this was a test of fate. This was a test of faith. This is like, okay, where I'm supposed to be. Okay. So I have the best interview I probably had in my life. And I got the job. And I'm sorry for the Judge Mathis show that I never called them back. But I knew that it was a test.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna give you this opportunity. We're gonna see how you balance off when you get something that looks like your dream.
Well, the
Seems to be
interesting
your dream
thing
job.
about your test of fate was like you were interviewing in Chicago for something that was full time and probably more money than
Yeah.
the job that popped up in New York. So I would say, yeah,
Man,
that's
yeah.
a test.
Definitely. And for 5.5 years, I worked
Nice.
with WBLS, and WBLS was bought by the parent company of Hot 97. And I got a chance, probably for about 2.5, 3 years, to work with WBLS and Hot 97 together,
Hmm.
which was like on my dream to do since I was probably about 15, 16 years old. And it just, it meant so much to me to kind of come where I came from and kind of just like you write it down, you visualize it. I got kicked out of High 97 one time just trying to go up there, trying to get an internship. So to come back
Yeah.
full circle,
Right.
it's like amazing. So yeah,
Yeah,
I was
that's
on air
awesome.
too. This is a
Okay.
beautiful thing. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. And you know what I really love about what you just shared is I was a mass comm major as well.
Okay.
And journalism, print journalism was my concentration. So that's what I've done mostly, as well as PR. Never quite
Right.
got over to I guess I'm kind of in the broadcast vein now with the
I
podcast.
mean, you're doing it.
But what I love about what you just shared is, especially for those of us who come from that major, it's competitive.
Oh my
Even if you
gosh.
do go to your career services office, there are but so many internship opportunities. And then if you don't get
Yes.
chosen for said internship opportunities, you got to turn on your hustle and figure out,
Oh yeah.
how do I get this hands-on experience, because I want to be in this field. Because you don't know how many people I went to college with. Mass comm was major at Claflin, and it's so many people who just didn't stay the course, you know?
Yep. Yep.
And that hustle is what you need to say, hey, let me reach out to my network, because you said you had a friend from high school who you talked to about your internship initially
Yep.
at Def Jam. So I love what
Mm-hmm.
you shared about that, because everybody thinks it's just so cut and dry when it
Oh,
comes
it's not.
to, getting internships and finding job placement. It's a hustle.
A constant hustle. Even when you make it to where you want to make it, you gotta stay there.
Yeah.
And it's not just about um it's not just about just saying, "Hey, I can get out of college. I can be a reporter and make $75,000 a year and live a
Where,
happy life." People teach you some stuff in
yeah.
college that sometimes doesn't relate. Most of the time doesn't relate. And when you get out of school, it's a swift smack of reality.
Right.
And the reality is that, and always love this saying by Jennifer Lewis, who plays every black mother
Mm-hmm.
in everything. If it's not Jennifer Lewis, it's Loretta Devine. But Jennifer
Facts.
Lewis says, the elevator to success is broken. Take the stairs.
I like it. I like it a
And
lot.
I'm like, yo, that's so applicable to my life and so many other people's life, because school is prepares you to be an adult, but what it doesn't prepare you to do, in my opinion, is how to harness and manifest your dreams. So people tell you, oh, you got to have a certain GPA. The last time somebody ever asked me for my GPA for a job was never.
Say
I'll be
that.
honest with you.
Drop that knowledge.
They never asked me for my GPA. I'm like, but I worked the last year of school. I worked until I got on the honor roll. And my parents come see me on the honor roll. I busted
No
my
one
behind.
cares.
And nobody care. Nobody care was my GPA in American mass media. No one cared.
Can you do the
So,
work?
can you do the work? And I found myself having to go, okay, this is not what you want to do, but we're gonna hustle to try to make it make your dreams come into realization.
Now, speaking of hustling and dreams, being realized, currently
Hmm.
you are still able to use your broadcast education, and you've just been able to kind of like parlay that into so many other facets of media. But right now, you are, I guess, creating your own lane with being a
Yeah,
co-creator of a web show, and so many other
yeah.
things that I actually found via the internet. So I guess, give a rundown of all the things, cool things that you've done, probably with some partners and or on your own. The one thing I did see was Black Boy Joy with
Oh
Mouse
man,
Jones and Marcus
yeah,
Ivory, and then I saw
yeah.
Chug a Shot and We Shall Over Chug. So, and then I saw some other
Yes.
things. So tell us what you're up to, because it seems like a lot.
Whew. Like I said, it's a constant struggle, a constant hustle, and that's where the struggle lies. It's
Hmm.
just like you're hustling, you're hustling, and sometimes you don't look back and go, look what this struggle has provided me with,
Yeah.
and it's provided me with tons of great memories and great content that people could latch onto and feel applicable to themselves. But yes, like what you mentioned, I am the co-host of a wonderful show called We Shall Over Chug with a great friend of mine named Just Latasha. She's wonderful. She created the show, added me as a co-host, and we give you black culture on the rocks.
Hmm.
So it's everything black with a nice little sip or something just to take the edge off every Wednesday.
I
So
like
we
that
do that.
concept.
Yeah. She's a visionary. She's a visionary. I'm just happy to kind of be the Dwayne Wade to her LeBron James. So she's amazing. Yes, Black Boy Joy. which I'm prayerful that it does come back, hoping that it does come back. But it gave me a perspective to share with two of my brothers about things like toxic masculinity,
Yeah.
uh, things like just relationships, broken marriages, and how that can affect relationships from men in the future. So I've had some of the most enlightening and tough conversations on that show just about being a man and what that means. And I've learned so much during the episodes that we have shot. So cross your fingers for that coming back very, very,
Would
very
that be your
soon.
second season?
It would be our second season, yes.
Okay.
And people just like always, just when is it coming back? So we're each of us is doing some pretty amazing
I
things,
saw
and
that.
I'm very thankful, for my bros. But if the people want it, we're doing a disservice to ourselves by not bringing that back. So hopefully sometime soon in the fall we can get together and manifest that.
Cool.
Um, so that's happening, and then I'm a panelist on a show called The Grapevine, where I actually met just Latasha and a slew of other people.
Hmm.
It's a really amazing show for Black millennials, and it kind of combines just like strong women, strong men from different cultures, different backgrounds, but we're talking about predominantly African American issues. Most times,
Hmm.
unless it's like a huge story, and then we talk about that. But I found it the most enlightening, and it's one of the most like rewarding things that I've done in my career thus far. I mean, somebody stopped me and I was in a lift the other day, and she was just like, "You on the Grapevine?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And we just started talking, and I really didn't know how big the show was until um people would start just seeing me out in
Recognizing
the
you.
street. Yeah, it's really weird because I'm extremely regular. Like I like to separate like the entertainment side when I'm not doing it, just to keep peace. And um it's just really weird. So I kind of had to have to get used to that.
Hmm.
So I'm doing that. That'll be back in September. And oh man, I got some new stuff going on, which I'm extremely happy about. I just did a pilot for my own show,
Yes,
which I can't.
congratulations.
Thank you. Which I can't tell y'all right now. I just wanted
Okay.
to let manifest, but it is an interview series, but it will be a very fun, creative way that we're doing
Ooh.
interviews with something that Black millennials love to do that I've found out. So,
Uh-oh.
hey, doing it for us,
I'm staying
and
tuned. I'm staying tuned. I
please,
can't wait to
please,
see what this
please.
is.
When it launches, I would love to come back and share with y'all. But like, just cross your fingers. And lastly, what I could talk about is I'm doing work with AOL. They have a series that they do daily called AOL Brunch
Hmm.
Build Brunch. Sorry,
I
Build
like
Brunch.
brunch.
Yes, yes. So it's like a good day, or like the Today Show or Good Day America
Hmm.
for millennials, and it's streamed through AOL as well as like some cable platforms in New York City, so you guys will be able to catch that on live stream. And I come in as their music expert, and I have my first show right after the VMA, so I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, congratulations on that
Yes.
as well. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
one of the questions that I have for you in all of this content, because essentially, I guess you're a media personality, you're a content
Yeah.
creator.
Hmm.
Where and how do you find the time to create, and what is that process like per se? Because you just mentioned all these things that you were a part of, one that you were kind of
Yeah.
like a co-creator of, and I'm sure that
Yeah.
had as much different from being the talent. So how do you do
Hmm.
it all?
I use this as a testament. It goes back to Lincoln. It really
Hmm.
goes back to Lincoln. Um, Towards the end of my college career at Lincoln University, I was a man of many hats, multitasking. I was my class king. I was a vice president. of a organization called Boy Joy Mentoring Program, which help incoming freshmen make a transition, a smooth transition from freshman to sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
I was the president of my chapter of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Shout out to Epsilon. What up, baby? Sorry, I had to just drop
You
that
got
off.
to.
Yeah, I have to. But I was the president of my chapter, and just I was a radio personality, and you know I was on we did the first scripted sitcom in Lincoln's history called In the Life It's Own. It started there. That's where the maturation started as far as going from teen to man. And there was not. I felt like there was nothing that I couldn't do as long as I dedicated appropriate time to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I learned from there how to be resilient, strong-willed, shut up and do the work, and keep it pushing. So when I got in like that, those tools prepared me for the quote unquote real world. When I got out here and I started doing things that, having to do things that were responsible for things that I actually loved,
Mm-hmm.
like things like my dreams and my goals, it became so much easier because like I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get this done. Why? Because I love it. Like I want to get it done. I want to edit. I want to do audio. I want to shoot this. I
Yeah.
want to be on camera for this. So it just became a lot easier to manage. And when things get tough, I think like, man, you could, and no knock, like, yo, you could be delivering pizza somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Instead, you're capitalizing and oftentimes making capital for things that you love to do. Suck it up, because a lot of people don't get this opportunity. So
Yeah.
that's where it comes from. It comes from just being a jack of all trades, and that stemmed from Lincoln, definitely.
Nice. Shout out to Lincoln, preparing your
Come
graduates for
on.
greatness.
What's up, LU? Love y'all.
Okay, so in that vein, because I really love it when we get kind of recent grads where students, if they listen to the podcast, can actually connect with and get a little bit more advice. So this is a really great place for us to talk advice, best
Right.
practices, because almost everyone who is in mass comm at a college these days, their goal is to become a content creator, to be
Yeah.
out here and doing exactly what you're doing. So what is one of the biggest misconceptions about content creators creating content?
The biggest misconception about content creators creating content, I mean, there are a few. I'm sure there are even more than I can offer.
Right.
Um, One, I would say that you have to wait. You have to wait until you get a degree. You have to wait until you get out into the quote unquote real world. And that is just, malarkey. I'm not going to curse, but it's malarkey. Um, just because like schools have so much more resources now.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, that like it seems like such a short time, like a long time ago, but it was, we're talking about 8 years ago from 2010.
Mm-hmm.
The world has changed so much, and the
Drastically.
way we get information has changed so much. Like vlogging was such in an infancy in 2010. Now we're seeing people make multi-million dollars just off of vlogging and getting opportunities to be on television
Mm-hmm.
from Instagram clips and things like that. It's just it's crazy. So what I would tell people in school is that the hustle starts now, especially when you have free resources.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're talking about you're a content creator, but you ain't on your school's TV channel, you're not on the radio, you're not utilizing the cameras and the lighting and the green screens and the things that these schools, the other amenities that these schools have. What are you really doing?
Right.
Like, what are we really talking about? Like, don't wait until you get outside to start creating content. The biggest misconception is that you could get out of school and just wave your degree in the air, and CNN and ESPN and BET is just gonna go, oh, okay, we're gonna flock to you
Woo!
because you got your degree.
Come on
and you
now.
have a 3.5 GPA.
Come
They
on
don't
now.
care. You have to make yourself sellable. Like why should you intern for us? Why should we put you on camera? Why should we put you behind the camera? That's one of the biggest misconceptions that I really feel like. The work
Yeah.
starts now. The second one, most important one for me, is that to be a content creator or to really do this is that, like, all you have to do is just be in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
All you just have to do is be the voice on the radio station. And I really feel like that's the biggest misconception, because the best, from my experiences outside of college, the best people know how to do it all.
Yep.
A little bit of everything.
See, you jump right on down to one of my other questions. So get into it.
Oh, man.
What is that? Editing, video,
Yeah.
graphics, writing.
All of that. You want to be a one-stop shop. You want to know why? Because a lot of people are not paying just for personalities anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What else can you bring to the table? I mean, of course, like, if you have a huge following, they'll come after you. But maybe 85 to 90% of people coming out of college might not have that huge following.
Mm-hmm.
So now what's going to make you more attractive? Okay, well, I see you have a television show. All right, well, you hosted on your television show. Did you write the script? No? Okay. Did you produce it? Did you edit it? No, you didn't do that. Do you know how to do the audio? No? So, like, you were just a talking head? Okay, what's going to separate you from you and the next person out of Jacksonville, Florida, or, Biloxi, Mississippi, who knows how to do this?
Right.
There's so many people who talk extremely well, very skilled in talking and being a personality. But what else can you bring to the table? A lot of people talk very well, maybe even better than you.
Right.
9 times out of 10 better than you. So it has to be something else that you can bring to the table that you can make yourself more attractive. Now, if you start to develop skills in school, play around with the equipment, know how to shoot, know how to produce, that way somebody could say, hey, well, we could put you on camera, but we got to pay you for video editing services or shooting.
Right.
But you could be on camera. That's a way in. All right, take it. And bust your behind to get to the point where you to the point where you can achieve your dreams. But it has to start with being an all-around content creator, not just being in front of the camera.
Oh boy. Now listen here. This is
Okay.
free out here, y'all, on iTunes.
Yeah, hey, I'm giving gems out for free.
He giving them out for free, okay?
Free.
Anywhere you listen to
Ooh.
podcasts, this is out there. So don't say you didn't get that advice. It's here.
'Cause
Jameer
I'm
is
telling
giving it to you.
For free. Free, baby.
I love
You know?
that though. No, it's very important because I had a job once in journalism, and it essentially was kind of like on the heels of social media getting popping. That I graduated in 2006, so Facebook just came on board around 2004. And so that
Right.
was still very new to people. But one of the things they asked me to do at my journalism job was starting to create, and we weren't even calling that at the time, but managing their Facebook page. And, so there's just so much stuff out there that you need to know how to do it all. And it resulted in a pay increase for me, which was great. But
Exactly.
it's like, know how to do other things. And this is, like I said, when we weren't even thinking about Facebook in the way that we use it now. So
Exactly. No. Remember when Facebook, like, your parents weren't on Facebook?
yeah, I do.
And now,
The good
like,
old times.
right, the good old times.
The good old
I'm like shocked by some of the stuff I used to post, or like come back and be like, if my mother saw this in 2006, she would lose her mind.
Time Hop is putting you out there. It's making you remember the mess.
Man, just really disgusting. disgusting and horrible things. It's just real bad. But thank God for maturity and change.
Thank God for growth. And now Facebook
Thank
belongs to
God.
your parents, so just know that.
Oh, you can't. My mother's like, did you see it? Because I put it on Facebook. I'm like,
I'm
I'm
not
not
on
even
there.
on Facebook. 'Cause you ruined it for me. You ruined it. So I'm not there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm.
Talk about, as a content creator, how much of a game changer social media has become, because when you graduated is just when Instagram, I think, had launched in 2010. And
What a game changer social media has been. Oh, I remember MySpace being the thing, and that was kind of
yes.
my like first glimpse of what social media like was, and it was so new that you didn't even really like. No, you just it was so normal after a while. You didn't even know what it was, and I was just connect. Like I remember on MySpace, I had randomly wrote. This is when I was doing comedy. I had randomly wrote Marlon Wayans, and the true testament that Marlon is. He's a guru at this social media thing. He wrote me back. I wrote him back, and I was like, I read your story, been a fan for years. I know you went to Howard, and you left to pursue your dreams. I was like, I'm a comedian. Such and such, but I have a backup plan. And he wrote me back like in 10 minutes. And I'll never
Nice.
forget what he said. He said, listen up, little N-word. If there should be no backup plan. If it ain't A,
Mm,
then that's all we're looking for is plan A. Gave
right.
me some of my most valuable piece of advice ever in life through social media.
Mm,
So now that I look at the endless possibilities on social media, how my audience has grown, how numerous people have blossomed and bloomed and became stars overnight through social media. Cardi B, perfect example, was kind of flying the flag for that.
yeah.
It shows you that the work and the hustle is not gone. It is just transformed. It's transformed. So whether I'm getting an event or posting it on social media, like I have to put a video up, I know that this is now part of the job.
Cool. Now, you can't be on the HBCU podcast without us talking about HBCU memories. So
Excited.
we're
Oh
going to go
boy.
down memory lane just a tad. And like you said, it was only
Okay.
about 8 years ago.
It's only about 8 years. That make you know how old I feel?
I
Very.
know.
Yes. Okay, I'm ready. I'm
But me
ready.
too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is one of your favorite memories from undergraduate life at Lincoln?
Hmm. I just remember, one of my favorite memories. I used to hang out with a lot of people out of Lincoln from New York,
Mm,
and we had this crew called EMS, and EMS was the Easy Money Squad
okay.
because I'm pretty sure at that time we were all getting money from our parents, so money surely was easy, but we decided to like it was hot one day, it was nice. We were like, we're gonna have a block party. Right. We're gonna bring our chairs from our room. And if you went to HBCU, them heavy wooden
Very
chairs
heavy.
in your room, very heavy.
Stump your toe on
Um
it and it's over.
uh, right, like who do you think we were carrying these chairs outside and brought a table and we were playing music outside of my friend's window on the first floor, and we had dominoes. We
Yes.
convinced like our homegirls to bring out like double dutch, and like this is my freshman year. We had a block party at Lincoln, and so many people came through. Public safety was cool, wasn't no issues. So like from I don't know, like maybe 2 to about 8, we were just enjoying ourselves outside. It was one of my favorite memories. It just showed like everything that people said about black people and HBCUs and how we don't know how to really just come together in unity. That was one of the biggest unity moments ever in at my school.
Yeah.
From my experiences there from '06 to 2010, that block party that we threw was memorable, and it was, we just had such a good time. So that was definitely one of my favorite memories.
Cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it was really good, really good.
Now, what was
Inventive.
homecoming like at Lincoln? I'm interested to know that. Like, was it more about the
Wow.
football or more about the tailgate?
So it definitely wasn't about the football or the tailgate at all. Because when I was going there, our football team was in its infancy stages.
Hmm.
We had just got like a band, so that was in its infancy stages too.
Oh no.
Um, I know. So we didn't have like a huge everybody come on Saturday and you get the alumni to go to the games until much later.
Mm-hmm.
People started showing up, but like them first few years, nah, it was not going down. The biggest thing was that, we had our homecoming parties and our homecoming concerts were just like really, really, really amazing. The
Nice.
step show was also really, really, really amazing. I can just remember like my first step show. We failed miserably,
Because you
but
pledged. You mentioned, right? You
I
pledged a
I
fraternity.
I went through intake process. Yes, of
Yes,
a
correct
fraternity.
terminology. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah, yeah. I don't know that P word.
What
I
am
don't
I talking
know.
about? What is
I
that?
don't know. Maybe you saw School Days as well.
Could be.
It could be. But yeah, I remember my first step show and, remember having to, just take that L and kind of move on. And I remember the parties. I remember just like we had vendors that would come up from New York and different places and the fried fish and the yams and the
Ooh.
macaroni and cheese. I remember that. And
Mm,
I remember, don't that make you just hungry?
it
I'm
does.
hungry. Yeah. And I just remember the unity, like that Saturday of homecoming, everybody on their plot, everybody cooking out, your friends going from plot to plot, you going to plot to plot. And I was thankful that, I knew majority of the people in different fraternities. I never just stayed on my plot and I was
Hmm.
hanging out with everybody. I just remember that unification. Homecoming is always a staple at Lincoln. And even though I'm not there, I always make sure like I never miss it like 2 years straight. I make
Okay.
sure I go back and I get that love.
That's a
Gotta
good
get that love.
policy. Good policy. Never miss it
Yeah,
2 years
yeah.
straight. I like
Never
it.
miss it 2 years straight. Mm-mm.
Great. So, talking about Lincoln, going down memory lane, and as you may know, just schools in general, but especially HBCUs, one of the things we're really trying to push more on is giving because that's so
Yeah,
important. So, for
definitely.
you, what does giving look like when it comes to Lincoln University for you?
Giving means time, and when I can't give money, it's always time. Last homecoming, I was honored to have the mass communication department come and ask if I could be one of the panelists to speak to the mass comm
Dope.
department. They didn't have to, and
Yeah.
I remember so that was Friday. That was like a Friday evening, the Friday during homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
That Saturday where everything like really gets like popping. I had an audition back in New York. So I remember to I drove to Lincoln on Friday afternoon. I spoke to the kids and I like I stayed a little bit in Philly just to rest my eyes and drove back that morning for an audition. And I drove back to Lincoln after the audition.
Oh.
And then I drove back, Saturday night, a Sunday or whatever. But I wouldn't have missed it for the world because I remember uh, being at Lincoln and kind of feeling lost in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody like my age who was really doing things like that in that capacity. And I was on a panel with some amazing people,
Mm-hmm.
some of classmates of mine who I remember, and we kind of started together, and we kind of just looked at each other like we owe it to this next class of young superstars,
Yeah.
content creators, on camera personalities, editing gurus, just to pour into some wisdom of, if we could, just for a little bit. I was in traffic for hours. I got there late, but I made sure I got there because I wasn't gonna miss that. And I factored in my schedule, even for the audition, to go to Lincoln and talk, because I don't have all the money. I'll
Mm-hmm.
be the first one to tell you I do not have all the money. Child, sometimes I don't know how I'm gonna make it. But if I don't have the money, I know that I can impart wisdom on somebody's life. And I'm always open to, and that's not the first time I've spoke there, but I'm always willing to give back and to spend time and always nurture the brothers in my chapter. And just like it, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like if you from Lincoln, like I automatically got love you right off the bat.
Right.
So I'm always willing to spend time there and just kind of give off a lot of energy and talk to people, pull people aside, and just kind of give them game, and have people pull me aside and give me game. So
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
Nice. Time is a currency too. And I always just
Oh
like to,
man,
always reiterate that, like, come on now. That's what we don't have a lot of. So
facts. So
when you
that
get
means
it,
I
it's
really love
important.
y'all. Yeah,
Right.
I love y'all.
For sure. So,
Mm,
Jameer, let me ask you this. If you could encourage a student to choose an HBCU or Lincoln, what would you say?
mm. That's a really good question. If I could just at HBCU specifically, I would just say if you are an African American, or black, whether you're Caribbean, whether you're African, HBCUs, I don't think you get the full impact of how important they are until the ride is over. And you
Mm,
look back and you go, wow. Because I went to grad school at a PWI, and while I got a good education, the experiences there were totally different. I was given tools of excellence by black faculty members, white faculty members too, but black faculty members who actually cared about me. Smaller class sizes where it was more personal, where I could actually learn, sometimes one on one,
mm-hmm.
people who knew the disadvantages that some black students were coming into college with, and took the time to really dedicate and just say, hey, you guys are not a number. We care about you in some regards, for some teachers. And they pushed and challenged me. And not taking anything away from PWIs, but HBCUs, you're never going to find a culture of smart, beautiful, talented black people in one space who, in one regard, on one night, could swag surf you to the ground, and then the next day give dissertations.
Come on
The
now.
culture, the culture and black fabric of millennials is heavily populated by people that have went to HBCUs and attained degrees from HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not taking anything away from PWIs, but when you look down at the movers and shakers of the people who went to college in this current state in 2018, you're going to find a lot of them have graduated from HBCUs,
That's true.
and who are imparting their culture and their wisdom to different facets of careers. So I haven't seen that. I haven't seen so many people, like, I don't know if it came from, like, generations before, but it just seems like it's an influx of love, positivity, and cultural movement from people who went to HBCUs in 2018.
Absolutely.
And we're building I heard you guys say this on a other podcast on a podcast prior, but it's about like the building blocks. Like we always talk about Dr. Martin Luther King, Langston Hughes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, all these amazing people who went to HBCUs, but we never focus on like the our new generation of people emerging from HBCUs, and it's a whole bunch of us that
Mm-hmm.
are doing things and stamping HBCUs in our own way. So ain't no experience in college like a HBCU experience. It's struggle, it's love, it's unity, it's fighting, it's bickering, it's doubt, it's faith. HBCU, like my experience at Lincoln, prepared me for the world.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nice. Couldn't have said it better myself. See, this is why I love, just like I said, having recent grads on
Yeah.
and, just really leaders of the new school, we'll say.
Yes. I love that.
Because, you really keep it real with everybody and the
Hmm.
expectations for what's going to come of your HBCU education. And yes, the campuses vary in different ways. There are some nuances, but for the most part, it's the same across the board. It's really going to grow
Yep.
you up. It's really going to give you what you need to succeed out here in this world. So you couldn't have said it better, Jameer.
I no look, hey, and that's just from like in hindsight, looking back and going, wow, look at all the skills that I got, and it was because of Lincoln University, and I'm sure for other people's in their own respective HBCUs, they can look back and go, I learned so much on how to handle myself, how to handle the world, how to handle just people from HBCUs.
Share with the listeners a little bit more what's coming up for you and what they should be on the lookout for, as well as where can they find out more information about you, whether that's a website or your social media. Share with the
Hmm.
people.
Okay. So a little bit just more about me. You'll be able to find me on more content platforms. I've been fortunate enough to. I just wrapped up an event that I did interviewing my friend who is an alum of Johnson C. Smith, Miss Safira
Smith.
Martin. Yeah, you don't like Johnson C. Smith?
I love it. That's the way they say it with the F. Smith.
Oh, okay. I thought you said ugh. I was like, oh no, like not on the HBCU
No, I
podcast.
love
Oh,
Smith with
okay.
the
Yeah. Shout out
with
to
the F.
Smith. Yeah, Smith. Smith. Yes. Yeah. We just like to think. Her and I did a interview. It was a one-on-one interview in front of her esteemed supporters and fans, and this was presented by Verizon, and it was a one-on-one amongst two people who graduated from HBCUs.
Mm,
Like I love it. I love
major.
it. So yes, so definitely major. um I've done content, some content that I've already done will be out on Refinery 29, which is like a shout
Huge.
out to all the ladies out there doing y'all thing. It's primarily for ladies, but they let somebody like me come on and talk my talk. So very, very appreciative and thankful for the content that is gonna come out on Refinery 29. Um, and like I said, like you'll be able to catch me doing some things in fourth quarter, like just doing some more motivational things. I had a series called Secure the Dream, where the last year I told everybody to say "F you to fear," and we had a very real conversation about what fear looks like and how
Mm,
it's kind of stopping our dreams from materializing. So this year we're taking that same element, but we're gonna switch it and go, how do you get up after an L? Because I've experienced some L's. A lot of people have taken L's in their careers and their life, and we need to have a serious conversation about what that looks like and how we can get up and still stay the course. So that'll be coming fourth quarter. You can see more of We Shall Over Chug. You can see more of the Grapevine. And I'm excited for this pilot. I will absolutely share it with you when it
yes.
materializes. And I'm excited. It's something that is like a baby. It's a baby to me. I'm holding it very close until like it starts to walk and get legs. But it's a really good concept, and I can't wait. So
Love it.
yeah, I'm
And
working, girl.
you
I'm
are
working.
working. You
There you
are. You
go.
have a lot going
Yeah.
on. So
Yeah.
with all that being said, where do we find you? How do we connect with you on social so that we can keep up with
Yes.
all the stuff that you're doing?
Yes. Okay. So you guys, and I'm working on my website as we speak, but you guys can follow me and find me on Twitter and Instagram at It's Jameer, ITSJAMEER, on Snapchat at I am Jameer. And if we do have listeners that happen to be women from HBCUs, maybe the class of the 80s or whatever, if you feeling frisky and you're over 40, please follow me on Facebook because just like you and my mom, y'all are there, and I'm there for y'all. So you can find me at Jameer Pond on Facebook. So I look forward to chatting and meeting all my esteemed alum from all HBCUs all over the country.
Nice. Javier, thank you so much. And you guys, if you missed anything that he just shared, don't worry about it. We will have all that information in the show notes as
Oh
well
yeah.
as on our website at thehbcupodcast.com. So you won't miss a beat. Don't get nervous because you couldn't write it down that fast. We will put it where you can find it. Now, Jameer,
Yes.
again, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate your time.
I just say like as far as HBCUs go, and as far as like notoriety and you getting people to share their stories, you're a catalyst, and I'm so appreciative of the platform. Just because HBCUs aren't given the flowers they deserve because they've helped build and shape men and women for years, and now
Mm,
that we're jumping into the next generation and we have these mediums, um, you guys are raising a flag for people who otherwise might not be heard on a wide scale. So shout out to y'all. And anytime you need me,
yes.
I'm here.
All right. Thank you so much. Those are such kind words. We greatly appreciate it. We've stayed the course. You know, my mission
There
is to
you
make
go.
sure I speak to and we speak to, and because Tommy, you will be back. I don't know where you've been hiding, girl, but I'm going to get you.
Come on, girl.
But yeah, our mission is to speak to somebody from an alum from every HBCU. So
Yes.
we got
Yep.
work to do. We got to keep going. We're only on what, episode 36. So
There you go. I'm the first Lincoln Knight. What up, Lions?
that's
Let's go,
right.
baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to the HBCU podcast. We have so much more HBCU content on the way, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, and visit us at thehbcupodcast.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the HBCU Podcast. Like us on Facebook. We love you for listening. Until next time.